Hello and welcome to the Fanatics of Film. Thank you so much for joining me here in the far reaches of space. We are in the Outer Rim. Polygon, what Star Wars lore can tell us about the new live-action series, The Mandalorian. So this is kind of brushing up on your Mandalorian. The Mandalorian, the title of Jon Favreau's coming up Star Wars TV series, evokes images of proud warriors, battle-beaten armor, and the bounty hunter Boba Fett in the hearts of fans. And yet the name Mandalorian is never even mentioned in any of the main films. And don't get it twisted, the Mandalorians weren't always warriors, and Boba and Jango Fett are not Mandalorians, so why is the fandom and Jon Favreau so interested in them? Allow us to explain. Well, I could have answered that for you, but here we go. Catching up with the Fetts. The connection between the Fett clan and the Mandalorians is so strong in the minds of fans that Favreau invoked it in his announcement on Instagram. It even seems that the Mandalorian's character will wield a blaster rifle that bears the striking resemblance to Boba Fett's weapon from his first appearance in the Star Wars Holiday Special. The reason for this connection is simple. Boba Fett was the first Star Wars character even to be identified as a Mandalorian. An entry in the Empire Strikes Back sketchbook, a reference book of concept art released in 1980, revealed that the Fett's armor began as a design for an entire race of Supercommandos hailing from the Mandalore system. Many stories about that nearly silent, masked bounty hunter and his Mandalorian brethren followed in comics, novels, and video games. When Jango Fett, Boba Fett's father, and the man that he was cloned from, was introduced in Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, he was also given a lengthy backstory in the expanded universe that centered around the assumption that he was a Mandalorian. Then, a single line in Star Wars The Clone Wars changed 30 years of preconceptions. When Obi-Wan Kenobi met with the Mandalorian Prime Minister Almec, he describes Jango Fett as a common bounty hunter, according to Almec. While Jango's armor is of Mandalorian origin, Jango himself was never a member of their order. Since Boba Fett is an exact clone of Jango, it would be he, too, is simply a common bounty hunter. Thus, Boba and Jango Fett are not Mandalorians, they just really dig their style. Despite this retcon, Lucasfilm has since fleshed out a rich history of Mandalorian, which has stayed true to their Super Commando roots. A long time ago, the Mandalorians were a feudal human culture united by a common language and code of honor. Their civilization is one of the oldest in the Star Wars galaxy, spanning thousands of years before the events of the films, during which the Mandalorians established themselves as a fearsome people committed to lives of war and conquest, which is illustrated very well in Rebels. They get into that a little bit with Rebels here. So, and of course, it's done in the Old Republic novels as well. A lot of the expanded universe novels that are now extinct, so whatever. But eventually, the ancient Mandalorians' crusades brought them into contact with the Jedi and the Old Republic. The clans rapidly adapted their technology and weaponry to an equal with the Force-wielding Jedi, and their wars lasted for generations. So that's actually really cool. I love the concept, especially after seeing this happen in Attack of the Clones. One of my favorite scenes in Star Wars is the scene where Obi-Wan and Jango are duking it out on Kamino. But eventually the ancient Mandalorians' crusade brought them into contact with the Jedi and the Old Republic, the clans rapidly adapting their technology and weaponry to an equal with the Force-wielding Jedi, and their wars lasted for generations. That is, until Tar Vizsla, the first Mandalorian inducted into the Jedi Order. Vizsla forged a one-of-a-kind lightsaber with a black blade, christened it the Darksaber, and took on the title of Mandalore, becoming absolute ruler of all Mandalorians. When Vizsla died, the Jedi and the Mandalorians competed for control of his legacy. The Jedi Order claimed the Darksaber as their own and hid it away in their temple on the Republic capital, Coruscant. However, the Jedi and the Republic were on the brink of destruction at the time. Facing the might of both the Mandalorians and the ancient Sith, a few members of House Vizsla used this to their advantage, slipping into the temple and recovering the Darksaber. From there, many warriors wield the infamous saber, often using it as a symbol to unite the Mandalorians against a common enemy. Pre-Vizsla and the Death Watch, just prior to the time period of Star Wars prequel trilogy, Mandalore faced a civil war that would change the face of its culture. The Jedi assigned a young Obi-Wan Kenobi to protect the Mandalorian Duchess, Satine Kryze, as she attempted to lead her people into a new age of pacifism. The two fell in love, and Satine emerged from the war victorious. She then exiled the warrior clans who opposed her and became ruler of a more democratic Mandalore. So that is actually really cool to know the details of that, particularly because this is something that is kind of touched on in the Clone Wars, but not entirely engulfed in. One of those exiles was a descendant of Tar Vizsla himself, Pre-Vizsla, who was voiced in the Clone Wars by Jon Favreau himself. As Satine built her bold new society, Vizsla obtained his ancestors' Darksaber and secretly began unifying the exiled clans into a terrorist group known as Death Watch. So, of course, this is all illustrated in Clone Wars. Satine's sister, Bo-Katan, who opposed her peaceful ideas, joined Vizsla as his lieutenant, and I believe she is played by none other than Starbuck from the new Battlestar Galactica. Pre-Vizsla allied himself with Count Dooku and his separatist army. As a result, the Jedi once again dispatched Kenobi to defend Satine, and their latent feelings for one another slowly resurfaced. Vizsla and Dooku conducted many coup attempts against Satine, all of which failed spectacularly, and Dooku eventually turned on Vizsla, leading the latter to swear vengeance and seek help elsewhere. That help would soon come in the form of another, more volatile Sith Lord.